Hello, ladies. How are you all? I hope you're all having a good day. So, before we start, I would like to thank God our Father for this day and for the opportunity to share His goodness and His love to all of you lovely ladies out there listening. Let me start by saying that if you are listening to me now, God led you to hear this because He has a purpose for you. He has a purpose for all of us. I am here to encourage you all to be strong in your faith and to stand on the promises of God. So, let me start. I have been married for 20 years. More than half of my life, I was with this man. We were blessed with 2 amazing children who are now in their teens. Ours was a picture-perfect family. We were happy. My husband was my best friend. He was my confidant. He was my rock and my everything. He was a very wonderful father, and our children adored him. So a few years into our marriage, the late night out started. So I hated it so much, and I would always try to talk to him about it, but he would get very defensive, and it would always end up with us fighting. I hated the fights even more, so most of the time I'll just let it go. I'd just say, okay, never mind, let's just get on, let's forget about it. I would let it go. I would busy myself just to avoid conflict. But throughout these times, a nagging voice would always keep telling me that my husband was having an affair. I knew it deep down. When they say that a woman's intuition is most of the time, if not all of the time, correct? That's true. But I was so much in denial. So, what did I do? I avoided things that might give confirmation to my thoughts and my doubts. I didn't watch shows or movies that touched on marriages or families. Instead, I decided to pour my time to my family. I took extra care of my husband. I served him in everything. I followed and obeyed in every word that he said and everything that he wanted. I made sure that our children were raised very, very well and were very much loved. Throughout this time, I prayed. I prayed to God. I prayed to God silently. I would ask Him, Lord, please remove this woman if there is one in my husband's life. That was always my prayer. But my prayer time and my relationship with God slowly drifted farther and farther as I devoted more time to serving my husband. My husband became the center of my priorities in life. So I even stopped working. I wanted to dedicate my time to making my family happy, making my husband happy. This was a mutual decision between me and my husband that I would stay home, take care of him, and take care of our children. I made sure that my husband did not want anything. I made sure he was happy. I made sure that he did not lack anything. Then one day, the affair was revealed to me through a MisText of my husband. He was supposed to send it to the other woman, but he mistakenly sent it to me. I lost it. This was years ago. So devastated and hurt. I confronted my husband. Of course, he denied it. He denied the affair. I ran to the nearest church that I could go to. I pleaded with God. I asked God to end it. I asked God that, I loved my husband very much, to remove the other person to end the affair, to fix my marriage. I pleaded and pleaded and pleaded. I also asked God to give me the strength to be able to face this reality and to be able to forgive my husband, to help me move past this. So it was days and days of fighting until we both got so tired of verbally hurting each other. Eventually reconciled. I forgave him. He promised me it was over. No one knew about this except my sister, and she only found out because she witnessed one of our fights. So to make it through, I covered up for my husband, covered up with lies, said that it was nothing. I repeatedly told myself that it wasn't true, that it was nothing. I made myself believe my own lies. I did not want to talk about it anymore, and I did not want anyone to know. I kept it to myself because I believed that if no one knew, then it wasn't real. That was how I was able to move on. So life continued and we moved on. Or so that was what I told myself. That was the lie I made myself believe. A few years later, a good friend of mine called me to ask me where my husband was. This was like maybe 4 years after the first event. And so she told me, this is something that you would not believe. This is something that even I could not believe. But my office mates called me and said that they saw your husband with another woman. I was stunned. I didn't know what to do. So then I called my husband and I asked him to come home. As soon as he got home, I confronted him. And he confessed to having an affair and having a child with that other woman. I freaked out. How I felt, what I said, what I did, I cannot even remember anymore. It seemed like I blacked out, but I know that I freaked out. It was days and nights of crying, praying, and questioning God where I failed in my marriage and what I did wrong to deserve this. My husband apologized profusely and promised to end the affair. I wanted my marriage. I wanted my family. It was important to me. I loved my husband. So I gave him another chance. It was hard. It took months or even longer for me to accept, but I kept it to myself. I never mentioned it. Never mentioned about the affair. I told him that I would trust him. Deep down inside, so scared. Deep down inside, I was hurting. But I still submitted to my husband. I worked twice as hard, serving and making my husband happy. It was hard. I cut ties with my friends who knew about the affair because I didn't want any hostility towards my husband. I did not want people questioning my decision to stay with my husband. We were living in a house where we had a church of just a few blocks away from us. I would go there. I would go there a lot. I would pray alone and ask God to remove the woman and child from our lives. I begged God to let the child turn out not to be my husband's. I was questioning the morals of this woman, saying, what if, she had this child from another man and just told my husband that it was his? So all these things I pleaded with God. I sought, I sought the Lord. I begged God. But not only did I go to God, I also sought counsel from other people, from other entities that I thought could make my problems magically go away. So I went to fortune tellers, psychics, and even shamans. People who promised me that they can make my problem just disappear. I spent so much money on these people. And I also spent so much time and faith believing that they can make the problem go away. So years went by, and I saw changes in my husband's behavior. He spent more time with me and our kids. He was more attentive to us. We went out more as a family. We were happy. Things were looking and feeling great. We decided to move to a new house designed by both of us, to fit more for our family, for our children who are in their teens. So we were happy. We were happy and settled. So I would still occasionally hear, a voice in my head or in my heart telling me that the affair was still going on. I could not see how, though. It seemed impossible, but possible. I don't know how to explain it, but that was how it was that time. It seemed impossible because my husband was always home. So how could he, continue on with an affair or even have one when he was always home? It seemed possible because this voice inside of me wouldn't stop. So what would I do? I would just pray. I'd pray to God. I would tell him, Lord, please make it stop. I've been pleading for years. Please make this affair stop. And then, somehow my prayers would change. I would still plead, but, I added by saying, Lord, if it really is still going on, and if my marriage is going to end, or if my husband is doing something to destroy our marriage or us, our family, please reveal it to me. But please reveal it to me very, very clearly, wherein even I cannot make excuses anymore for my husband. So I would always accept my husband's excuses before. So, this is what I asked God. I told him, reveal it to me, but please make it very clear that even I could not lie to myself anymore and make myself believe these lies. And I'm telling you, ladies, be very, very careful for what you ask for. Be very careful for what you pray for, because remember, God answers prayers. Be very careful with what you pray for and what you ask for in prayers. He did. He answered me. But God was very, very faithful in answering me. He was very faithful and He was very good to me. He prepared me, and He prepared me unknowing to me. He revealed to me everything slowly and in stages. Stages it took months. This led me to just crying and, questioning God, asking Him, why me? Why has it come to this? So, God showed me my situation. But I would still tell Him, God, my husband can still deny this. And knowing me, I would still believe. I believe my husband. Then again, one day, God was faithful to me. One day, I overheard my husband on the phone. And this was the first time ever, he was having a conversation with the other woman. And I heard the answers to my questions to God. This time, I lost it again, but this time, it was undeniable. I knew it was over. I just knew it. I knew I couldn't take it anymore. So 3 days. So we fought. It was a long, tiring, and brutal fight between the two of us. 3 days later, my husband left our home. He went to live with his mom. You know, I believe that day, almost a year ago, my life was over. I wanted it to be. I pleaded with God, take me in His loving arms where I can rest and be loved by Him. So tired. Felt so useless. Betrayed. Thrown in the trash like garbage. I just wanted to close my eyes and never open it again. These were my prayers. I pleaded with the Lord. Just God, take me. I'm done. But He continued to remain faithful. He sent me my sister. My sister who I've not spoken to for 7 years. He sent people my way who encouraged me to put God in the center of my life and in my marriage instead of idolizing my husband. He led me to YouTube channels, and believe me, ladies, before all this, I never opened YouTube. He led me to YouTube channels that spoke about Him and His infinite goodness. God in His goodness even taught me how to pray and what to pray for. Despite all this, the Holy Spirit inside me always told me to stand. I always had that voice in me. Never stopped telling me to stand for my marriage and to pray for myself, for my children, but most especially for my husband. He showed me His will in the Bible in Mark chapter 10, verse 6 to 9. It says, "But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Whatever God has joined together, let no man separate." I held on to this. I prayed over this. I told God that this was His will. I told God that He said whatever we ask for in prayer, according to His will, believe that it is answered. This is what I kept on praying for. So I learned to seek God. I sought God in everything. I believed that He will restore my marriage because He is a God of restoration. I do not know how, but it was for me to see and experience God's miracles. Now, almost a year, I am still here, stronger, much blessed. I am still waiting on God. But this time, I'm waiting on God and not on my husband. I'm believing that God's plan for me are greater than my plans. In Jeremiah 29, verse 11 to 13, He says, "I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." This gives me so much strength. I read this over and over again. This has been my light in the valley of darkness. So ladies, be strong, be steadfast, and stand on God's word. So I hope that today I've given you encouragement, believing that you are not alone. God is with us, and He is our Father, and He loves us, and He will see us through this. So ladies, do not give up. Giving up is never an option. Giving up is not just giving up on your husband. Giving up is not just giving up on your marriage. Giving up is not just giving up on your children. Giving up is not just giving up on your family. Giving up is giving up on God. Remember that, ladies. When you decide to give up, you're giving up on God. So do not give up, because there is nothing impossible with God. If you can open up the sea to make way for Moses and his people, what more can He do for you? Believe, because faith is believing what you cannot see, what you do not see. Faith is hoping for the unknown. So, I hope this has helped you, and I'll be back soon. Thank you, ladies, for your time, and I'll be back soon. Bye-bye.